The human explorer walked slowly across the alien land, his boots pressing into the soft, glowing soil. The sky above him was a strange mix of purple and silver, and two suns watched him from different angles. He had traveled far from Earth, and now he stood on a planet where every tree hummed like a song and every stone seemed alive. His name was Daniel, and he was alone, but he was not afraid. He was curious. In his pack he carried small things from Earth: food bars, water bottles, and simple gifts. He had been told by the Space Council that first contact must always be peaceful. He had to show kindness, he had to show trust. So when the first alien stepped out of the forest, Daniel smiled. The alien was taller than him, thin, with long arms and shimmering skin that reflected the suns like liquid silver. Its eyes were wide and glowing blue. The alien did not speak, but its chest moved fast as if it was nervous. Daniel thought for a moment. What could he do? How could he show he was friendly? Then he remembered the food bar in his pocket. Humans always offered food to friends. It was simple. It was natural, so he opened the pack, broke the bar into 2 pieces, and stretched out his hand with a smile. "Here, you can have some," he said softly. The alien froze. Its glowing eyes widened even more. The silence grew heavy. Daniel thought maybe the alien did not understand. But then the creature reached forward slowly. With shaking fingers, it touched the food, then pulled back as if it had touched fire. Daniel frowned, confused, but gently pushed the piece closer. Finally, the alien took it, held it tight, and looked at him with a strange expression. It was not just surprise, it was something deeper, something almost sacred. The alien whispered in a voice that sounded like wind moving through glass. You offer me food, human. Do you know what this means?" Daniel shook his head and laughed nervously. "It means I want to be friends," he said. But the alien gasped, stepping back, trembling, and then bowing low. "No, it means more than that. It means you ask me to bind with you, to walk with you, to be with you forever. You have made the proposal of life." Daniel blinked. His smile faded. He thought maybe he had misunderstood. Maybe the alien's words had been twisted in translation, but the tone, the eyes, the shaking body, it was all real, it was all serious. Daniel whispered back, "Wait, proposal, what proposal?" The alien's chest rose and fell quickly. "On my world, sharing food is no small act. It is sacred. It is the act of choosing a partner. When you place food in another's hand, you are saying, I give you my life, I join with you, I belong with you." The human's heart skipped a beat. He felt his stomach twist. He had only wanted to show kindness, but now, this alien believed something far greater, something binding. He looked at the small piece of food bar in the alien's hand and saw the way the creature held it. Not like a snack, not like a gift, but like a holy treasure. Before Daniel could explain, other shapes moved from the forest, more aliens, their skin shining in different shades of silver and blue. They saw the first alien holding the food. They heard the words, and a ripple of sound spread through them. Whispers, gasps, and soft cries. Some even bowed to Daniel as if he was already part of them. Already chosen, Daniel raised his hands, trying to stop the wave of misunderstanding. "No, wait, it's just food. I just wanted to share. I didn't mean." But his words were drowned by the sound of the aliens chanting softly. A word he could not understand, but he felt its weight. The first alien stepped closer again, eyes shining with something like hope, something like fear. "You cannot take this back now. Human. The offering is seen. The bond is spoken. The stars have witnessed." Daniel's chest grew heavy. His mind raced. He wanted to shout that it was all a mistake. But deep inside, a part of him felt the tension, the mystery, the pull of something greater than himself. He looked into the alien's glowing eyes, and for a brief moment he wondered, maybe this was not a mistake, maybe this was fate. The wind moved through the glowing trees. The silver leaves shivered. The other aliens moved closer in a circle, their voices low, their eyes fixed on him. Daniel stood frozen, caught between fear and wonder. And the first alien whispered once more, "Human, you have bound yourself to me, and to my people, and soon the council will know, and the world will answer." And in that moment, Daniel realized something that chilled his blood and quickened his heart. What he thought was a simple gift, a small act of kindness, had become the spark that would decide the future of 2 worlds. The news spread faster than fire in dry grass. Across the glowing valleys and silver forests, the story moved. A human had offered food. A human had made the sacred gesture, and now the whole planet whispered about it, some in awe, some in fear, some in anger. The suns dipped low and the alien city lit up with blue flames, and deep inside the city stood the council hall. a place where great decisions were made. The council hall was built from living stone that pulsed like a beating heart. Its walls glowed faintly with energy, and its roof opened to the stars so the ancestors could listen. 12 tall chairs circled the chamber, each one holding a counselor, old wise, and marked with shimmering patterns on their skin, patterns earned only through years of leadership. Tonight their faces were tense, their eyes locked on the figure standing before them, the alien who had received the humans' food. Her name was Sarai. Her silver skin shone brighter than most, but her hands still trembled. She held the small piece of human food in her palms, wrapped carefully as if it were made of crystal. She bowed low and said, "The human has chosen. The human has given me the bond." Her voice shook but carried across the hall. The counselors stirred, whispers rising, some gasped, some frowned deeply. One slammed a hand on the stone armrest and growled. "This cannot be true. No human would know our sacred law. No human could understand the weight of such an act," said Counselor Vaynar, his voice low and sharp. He was known as the hardest among them, always cautious, always ready for war. His glowing scars told stories of battles fought long ago. He leaned forward, his eyes like knives. "Perhaps this human tricks us. Perhaps this is their way to bind us without consent." Another counselor, old and calm, lifted a hand. Her name was Errol. She was the keeper of traditions, and her voice was like soft rain. And yet the bond was given. Vaynar, trick or not, our people saw it, the ancestors saw it. Food was placed into hands, words were spoken. "It cannot be undone." She looked at Sarai with deep eyes. "Do you accept the bond, child?" Sarai hesitated, her chest rising and falling. She felt the weight of a whole world pressing on her shoulders. She whispered, "I did not expect it, I did not ask for it. But when he offered, I felt something. I felt the truth of the bond." Her words made the hall stir again. Some whispered of fate, others of danger. Then Counselor Vaynar rose, his tall body casting a shadow across the glowing floor. His voice thundered, "This is a mistake. A dangerous mistake, do you not see? Humans are not weak wanderers. They are builders of machines, conquerors of stars. If we allow this bond, we tie ourselves to them, and if they turn against us, we are doomed." His words made the air heavy. The walls pulsed faster, as if the living stone itself was nervous. But another voice rose, deep and calm. It belonged to Counselor Chiron, the strategist, the one who always looked at the bigger picture. He leaned forward and said, "Or perhaps this is our chance. Vaynar, perhaps this is no trick. Perhaps the human does not even know the weight of what he has done. But that does not matter. What matters is how the galaxy will see it. If we honor the bond, the human stands with us, and their kind will think twice before making us enemies." The hall fell silent. The counselors looked at one another, some nodding, some shaking their heads. The question hung in the air like a blade. Was this a blessing or a curse? Sarai lifted the food bar again, holding it up to the starlight, her voice steadier now. "I believe he meant kindness, not war." His eyes were not sharp. His voice was not cruel. He did not know our law. But still, when he gave this, I felt he gave more than food. I felt he gave hope. Her words softened the hall. Even Vaynar looked away for a moment, his jaw tight. Then the leader of the council, the high speaker, rose from the central chair. Her skin shimmered with golden patterns, rare and powerful. She raised her hand and the hall quieted at once. Her voice carried like thunder wrapped in silk. "The human's act cannot be erased. Whether mistake or destiny, it has been seen. The bond is alive. The question now is not what he meant, but what we will do." Her eyes moved from face to face, then finally to Sarai. "The human must come here before this council. We must see him with our own eyes. We must judge if he is friend or foe, if he is child or conqueror, if he is partner or pretender. Until then, no word will leave this chamber. No decision will reach the stars. Do you all agree?" One by one, the counselors gave their nods, some with reluctance, some with eagerness. The chamber glowed brighter as their agreement filled the air. The high speaker struck the floor with her staff, the sound echoing like a drum. "Then it is decided, summon the human. Let the bond be tested." Outside the hall, the city buzzed with rumors. Lights flickered in every home. Whispers filled every corner. The people wondered if this human was their future or their end, and far away, unaware of the storm he had started, Daniel sat by a glowing stream, staring at the alien sky, still trying to understand how a simple gift had changed everything. And in the council hall, Sarai closed her hands around the food, her heart beating fast. knowing the next time she saw the human, all eyes of the world would be upon them both. Daniel woke with the sound of soft singing. The air shimmered with voices. When he opened his eyes, he saw figures standing near him, tall silver aliens with glowing blue eyes. They carried gifts, baskets filled with glowing fruits, jars of sparkling water, and strange objects that looked like crystal flowers. He blinked, rubbing his eyes, wondering if he was still dreaming. The aliens bowed low, placing the gifts at his feet. Their voices rose in unison, chanting words he could not understand. The sound was beautiful but heavy, like a hymn sung in a cathedral. Daniel felt his heart pound. He stood and raised his hands. "Please, I don't understand. I don't need this," but the aliens only bowed deeper. One of them whispered, "Chosen one, protector." "Bound one," the words chilled him. He remembered the food bar, the simple act of kindness, and his stomach twisted. They truly believed he had made some sacred bond. He tried to laugh, but the sound died in his throat. The aliens were serious, too serious. Everywhere he went that day, aliens followed. Some kept a respectful distance, some carried banners with glowing patterns. Some even scattered petals of silver leaves along the path. Daniel felt trapped in a dream he had not chosen. Strangers called his name, their eyes full of awe. Mothers lifted their children so they could see him. Elders touched the ground where he walked. He wanted to scream that it was all a mistake, but his voice failed him. When he tried to explain, the words only made things worse. He told a group of aliens, "On Earth, giving food is normal. It just means sharing. It does not mean marriage. It does not mean binding." They tilted their heads, their glowing eyes narrowing in confusion. One of them whispered, "So on your world you give away your heart to anyone. You share your life with all. You are a strange people, but generous," Daniel groaned, realizing they had twisted his words into something even deeper. He tried again later, speaking slowly to a young alien who seemed kinder. "Food is just food. It is not a promise." But the young alien smiled and said softly, "You say this because you are humble, but your act cannot be small. No one gives food without meaning. Not in this world, not in yours. You may not see it yet, but you have chosen." The certainty in the alien's voice made Daniel shiver. By evening, guards appeared, tall and armored, with glowing spears that hummed with energy. They did not point their weapons at him. Instead, they bowed and said, "We are your protectors. Until you stand before the council." Daniel shook his head. "Protectors? I don't need protectors. I'm just an explorer." But they did not listen. They followed him closely, forming a circle whenever crowds pressed too near. The confusion only grew when more gifts arrived. One alien placed a silver crown at his feet. Another offered a cloak woven from living threads that glowed with soft light. Daniel stared at them helplessly. "I can't take these," he whispered. But when he tried to refuse, the aliens looked heartbroken. Some even cried. One shouted, "He rejects us." And the crowd grew restless until Daniel picked up the cloak just to calm them. The cheers that followed echoed through the valley. Daniel sat by the fire that night. Staring at the glowing cloak around his shoulders, his hands shook as he touched it. He had not asked for any of this. He had only wanted to be kind. But now he was being pulled into something far bigger, something sacred and dangerous. His mind spun. He thought of Earth, of home, of how small acts there meant nothing. A smile, a handshake, a meal shared, but here on this planet, the same act could change the course of history. The fire crackled. The guard stood silent nearby, and Daniel whispered to himself, "What have I done?" His voice was lost in the wind. But someone heard Sarai, the alien he had given the food to. She stepped out of the shadows, her eyes soft, her voice gentle. "You gave more than you know, human. You gave me your trust. And that is something no one can undo." Daniel turned to her, his chest tight. "I didn't mean to. I didn't know your law. I didn't want this." Sarai lowered her head. "Perhaps you did not want it, but perhaps the stars wanted it. Perhaps fate chose you, not your own hand." Her words filled him with dread and wonder. He looked into her glowing eyes and saw no trick, no malice, only belief. Behind them, the city lights flickered in the distance. Whispers carried on the wind. Chants rose from the homes. The people already preparing for something greater. Daniel closed his eyes, knowing tomorrow the council would call him, knowing he could not run, knowing that confusion had turned into destiny, and his life was no longer his own. The day of the council's summons had not yet come, but already the city buzzed with tension. The alien streets glowed with blue fire, and Daniel could feel eyes following him wherever he went. Whispers spread like wind through the crystal towers. Some called him chosen, Others called him danger. But one voice rose louder than the rest, a voice filled with anger and pride. That voice belonged to Varric, a warrior of great renown, taller than most, his silver skin marked with scars that glowed faint red under the twin suns. His eyes sharp as blades, his name was feared and respected across the clans. He had trained since youth, fought in countless duels, and carried the title of Protector of Bonds, for it was his sworn duty to guard their sacred traditions. And now he believed those traditions had been broken by an outsider. Daniel first saw him when the crowd gathered in the central square. The ground was carved with ancient symbols that shimmered faintly as if alive. Banners waved, drums pounded. The air was heavy with expectation. Daniel stood with his guards, confused, nervous, and still wearing the glowing cloak he had accepted only to calm the people. Then the crowd parted and Varric stepped forward, his armor shining like polished stone, his spear taller than Daniel himself. He struck the ground and the sound echoed like thunder. "Human," he roared, his voice deep and harsh. "You have taken what is not yours, you have given the bond to one of ours without knowing, without earning, and now you walk as if chosen. But I will not allow it, I challenge you." The square fell silent. Daniel's heart slammed in his chest. "Challenge," he whispered. "What do you mean?" Sarai, who stood nearby, her eyes wide with fear, explained softly. "He calls for the trial of worth. It is the old way. If one doubts a bond, they may challenge the outsider. The bond can only survive if the outsider proves worthy." Her voice trembled. "Daniel, if you lose, the bond breaks, and worse. You may not live to see another day." Daniel's throat went dry. He stepped back. "Wait, I didn't ask for this bond. I never agreed to fight," but the crowd roared. Their chants rising, some shouting Varric's name, others calling for silence. The high speaker had not yet arrived. And without her word, the trial could not be stopped. Varric's eyes burned as he pointed his spear at Daniel. "If you are truly bound, if the stars have truly chosen you, then show us, prove yourself, fight me here before the people." Daniel's mind raced. He had no weapon, no armor, no training for alien combat. His only tools were his wits and his courage, he thought quickly, remembering the advice of the Space Council before he left Earth. When words fail, use cleverness. When strength is lacking, use the mind. He swallowed hard and raised his hands. "I accept your challenge," he said. Though his voice shook, the crowd gasped. The square glowed brighter. Varric grinned, sharp teeth flashing. He spun his spear in a circle that sang in the air. Daniel's guards moved to protect him, but he held them back. "No, if I hide behind others, I lose before I begin," he whispered. The trial began. Drums pounded. The ground shifted as the old symbols glowed, forming a circle of light around them. Varric advanced like a storm, his steps heavy, his spear striking the ground with sparks. Daniel dodged, barely escaping the first strike. The force shook the air. He stumbled, his heart racing. The crowd roared. Daniel looked at the spear. At the warrior's movements, he realized something. Varric was strong, but predictable. Every strike was heavy. Every move made to crush, not to trick. Daniel's breath came fast. He remembered his training in survival. Not combat. Move light. Use the environment. He ducked under another strike and grabbed a handful of glowing sand, throwing it into the air. The light blinded Varric for a moment. The crowd gasped. No one had expected the human to fight with such strangeness, Varric growled, slashing. Again, but Daniel kept moving, always one step ahead, using speed instead of strength. He grabbed a banner pole from the edge of the circle, holding it like a staff, untrained but desperate. When Varric's spear came down, Daniel blocked with the pole. The impact jolted his arms, but he stayed standing. Sarai's voice carried from the crowd, trembling but proud. "Stand your ground, human. Stand and show them." Daniel gritted his teeth, sweat running down his face. He spun the pole awkwardly but managed to deflect another strike. Then he stepped back and shouted, "If strength decides worth, then you are already greater than me, but if worth is only strength, then what makes us different from beasts?" His words echoed in the glowing air. The crowd hushed. Varric paused. His spear lowered slightly. Daniel seized the moment. "I may not fight like you. I may not know your laws, but I know this. Bonds are not won by breaking. Bonds are not proven by blood. Bonds are proven by standing, by refusing to fall. And I am still standing." His chest heaved. His arms shook, but his voice carried strong. The silence stretched. Then slowly the crowd began to murmur. Not with anger, but with awe. Varric's eyes narrowed, then softened. He pulled back his spear and struck the ground once more, this time not in challenge, but in respect. "You fight like no warrior I have seen, human. weak in body but strong in spirit. The bond may yet stand. The crowd erupted in cheers, some chanting Daniel's name, others Sarai's. The trial had not ended in blood, but in something greater, a test of will. Daniel collapsed to his knees. Exhausted but alive, Sarai rushed forward, her eyes shining with tears. You did not fight to win, you fought to show truth. And they saw it. And though Daniel's body trembled with fear and pain, a strange feeling grew in his chest. For the first time he realized he was no longer just a visitor, no longer just lost in confusion. He was part of a story that belonged to more than himself. And the storm was only just beginning. The trial was over. The cheers of the crowd still echoed through the glowing streets. Yet Daniel felt no victory. Only the heavy weight of misunderstanding pressing down on him. Farak had stepped aside, showing respect. But the eyes of the people still burned with belief. They saw him not as a man who stumbled and survived, but as one chosen by fate. That night the guards escorted Daniel to a high chamber carved into the side of a crystal tower. The walls pulsed faintly with light. Alive with strange energy, the council had sent for him. The time had come for truth. Sarai walked beside him. Her head lowered, she spoke softly. Be careful, Daniel. They will test your words more than your strength. They will not forgive insult to our ways. Daniel's heart raced. He wanted to tell her he never meant insult, never meant bond, never meant to change the life of a whole world, but his throat tightened. Words felt small against the weight of what was coming. The chamber was vast, filled with long banners that floated as if carried by unseen wind. 12 counselors sat in their glowing chairs, the high speaker at the center, her golden patterns shining like fire. Her eyes calm but sharp. She raised her staff and the chamber grew silent. Human, she said, her voice deep and steady. You stand here not as visitor, but as one bound by sacred law. Your act has been witnessed. Your trial has been endured, yet questions remain. Do you understand the bond you have made? Daniel stepped forward, his cloak heavy on his shoulders. His voice trembled, but he forced the words out. On my world, giving food means kindness, not marriage, not life bonding. I did not know your law. I did not mean to give such a promise. His words fell into the hall like stones into water. Ripples of shock and anger spread among the counselors. Vainer, the harsh one, slammed his hand on the stone armrest, his scars glowing red. So he admits it, he insults us. He mocks our sacred ways, he treats the bond as a game. His voice thundered. This is why humans cannot be trusted. They hide behind smiles while their hands carry knives. Daniel's chest burned with anger. He took a step closer. No, I do not mock you. I do not insult you, I only tell the truth. On earth, sharing food is simple. It is a way to show friendship. It does not bind lives, it does not tie fates. It is not sacred. Gasps filled the chamber. The counselors whispered fiercely, some horrified, some curious. Errol, the keeper of traditions, leaned forward, her eyes narrow but thoughtful. Strange, she murmured. A world where food is common, a world where sharing carries no weight. What then binds your people, human? What act speaks of trust, of forever? Daniel paused, thinking of earth, thinking of home. For us, trust is spoken in words and promises, in rings placed on fingers, in vows before families. Food is joy, not destiny. The chamber shook with voices, some laughing bitterly, others crying in disbelief. Words, Vanar spat. Words can be broken. Rings can be cast away. Vows can be forgotten. But food is life. Without it we die. To share it is to share life itself. And you would dare say it means nothing? Daniel clenched his fists, frustration rising. I never said it means nothing. I said it means something different. Do you not see our worlds are different? Our meanings are not the same. What binds you may not bind us, but that does not make us enemies, it only makes us different. The high speaker raised her staff, silencing the storm of voices. Her golden eyes locked on Daniel. And yet difference is dangerous, human. Misunderstanding has started wars greater than this council can count. Already whispers spread through the city. Already factions form. Some see you as salvation. Others see you as poison. One act of kindness has become a blade dividing our people. Daniel's stomach turned. He could see it now. The weight of his mistake rippling through the alien world. Unity breaking into cracks, hope turning into suspicion. All from a single piece of food. Then Sarai stepped forward, her voice soft but strong. High speaker, counselors, I was the one who received his gift. I felt no insult, I felt no trick, I felt warmth. I felt his heart, even if he did not mean bond as we mean it. His act carried truth, the truth of sharing without fear, the truth of kindness without demand. Does that not matter? The hall quieted. All eyes turned to her, Vaynar's face twisted with fury. You defend him because your heart is clouded. You speak as one blinded by bond, but Errol tilted her head, studying Sarai with deep interest. Or perhaps she sees what we do not. Perhaps this human shows us that meaning is not fixed, that a bond can be more than law, more than tradition. The debate grew fierce. Counselors shouting, voices clashing, the chamber pulsing brighter with their emotions. Daniel stood in the middle, overwhelmed, watching his words twist into weapons, watching kindness turn into chaos, and in the shadows of the hall, unseen by most, a group of silent figures watched, their cloaks dark, their eyes cold. They whispered among themselves, planning, their voices sharp like knives. The people are divided, the council is weak. Soon we strike. Soon the misunderstanding will serve us. Daniel could not hear them, but he felt something heavy in the air, something darker than confusion, something waiting to turn mistake into war. The council chamber was still buzzing with arguments when the high speaker finally struck her staff. The sound cracked like thunder. Silence fell. Her golden eyes swept across the hall, then rested on Daniel. Human, she said, her voice steady. Words have been spoken. Doubts remain. Factions rise. This cannot continue. The bond cannot remain uncertain. You must choose here and now. Do you stand with Sarai? Do you claim the bond? Or do you reject it before all? The word struck Daniel like a hammer. His chest tightened. Sweat prickled his skin. The eyes of the council bore into him. The eyes of the crowd beyond the chamber doors burned with expectation. And somewhere in the city, the whispers of shadowy rebels waited to twist whatever he said. He wanted to shout that it was all a mistake, that he never meant any of this. But then he saw Sarai. She stood a few steps away, silver skin glowing softly, her hands trembling though she tried to hide it, her eyes fixed on him, wide and full of emotions he could not name. Fear, hope, sorrow, longing, all mixed into one. She took a breath and spoke, her voice soft but clear. Daniel, I must tell you something. Not for the council, not for the people, but for you. The chamber leaned forward, every word hanging heavy. Sarai's voice quivered but grew stronger. When you gave me food, I felt the bond as law demands, but I also felt something more, something that is not law, not tradition, not politics. I felt a spark in my heart. I felt connection. I do not know if you feel it too, but I cannot deny it. I cannot lie. I care for you, human, not because of the bond, but because of you. The hall erupted. Some counselors gasped in shock. Others shook their heads in anger. Vaynar roared, blasphemy, she speaks with clouded heart. She would tie our fate to an alien for her own desire. But Sarai did not bow her head. She lifted her chin higher, tears glowing in her eyes. No, I speak truth. I speak what I feel. And if our traditions cannot hold both law and heart, then perhaps our traditions are too small for the stars. Daniel felt his breath catch, his mind spinning. He had come to this world to explore, to learn, not to bind, not to love. Yet her words struck deep, not as chains, but as light. He remembered the way she had looked at him in the forest, the way she had defended him during the trial, the way she had believed in his kindness when no one else did. Something inside him whispered that this was not mistake. This was choice, but choice was not simple. If he claimed the bond, humanity itself might be drawn into alliance, maybe even war. If he rejected it, the people might rise in anger, the rebels might strike, and Sarai's heart might shatter before his eyes. The high speaker's staff glowed brighter. Decide, human. The time has come, her voice thundered. The hall trembled. Daniel's hands shook, his throat dry. He closed his eyes, listening to his heart, to the chants of the people outside, to the silence of the stars above. And then he opened them. He stepped forward, his voice low but clear. I did not come here to trick you. I did not come here to bind myself by law I did not know. But I also cannot deny what has happened. I gave food, I gave kindness, and I see now that kindness has weight. It has power, more power than I ever thought. So I will not reject it. I will not run. I will choose. His eyes turned to Sarai. Her breath caught. Her hands clutched her chest. I choose you, Daniel said, his voice trembling but true. Not because of law, not because of fear, but because in you I see trust and hope, and something my heart cannot ignore. If this bond must stand, let it stand not as mistake, but as decision. The hall exploded with sound, some cheering, some shouting in rage. The counselors rose to their feet, voices clashing. The chamber pulsed with blinding light. Sarai fell to her knees, tears spilling down her face. Not of sorrow, but of joy, she whispered. Then the stars truly chose, not law, not chance. But choice, Vanar snarled, his face twisted with fury. Fool, you bind yourself and your kind to us, you doom us both. The galaxy will see this and sharpen their blades, but Chiron, the strategist, stood and raised his hand. No, Vanar. The galaxy will see this and pause. They will see a human and one of us joined by choice. And they will wonder, they will hesitate. Perhaps that is power greater than any weapon. The High Speaker struck her staff once more, her voice cutting through the storm. The bond is claimed. The bond is sealed, let the world know. The human has chosen, Sarai has accepted. The stars have witnessed. Her golden patterns burned like fire. Her words carried beyond the hall, into the city, into the night. Outside, the people erupted in cries of celebration and fury alike. Banners were lifted high, drums thundered, yet in the shadows the dark faction smiled, their leader whispering coldly, "Now the world burns brighter, and in bright fire we will strike." Daniel stood beside Sarai, their hands brushing, their fates now tied, his heart heavy with fear, yet strangely light with hope. He knew he had made the true choice, not safe, not easy, but true, and as the stars shone down, he understood something deeper. Sometimes the smallest act, a piece of food, a spark of kindness, could change the path of worlds forever. The city was alive with noise. Cheers and shouts rose together like thunder. Banners of silver and blue waved high in the glowing streets. The council's decision had spread through every valley, through every tower. The human had chosen. The bond was sealed. Daniel and Sarai stood together at the center of it all. Yet even as joy spread like fire, shadows crept quietly, ready to strike. Preparations began for the ceremony of joining, an ancient rite rarely seen. The council ordered the great plaza to be opened, a place so vast it could hold tens of thousands. Its floor carved with patterns that glowed like rivers of light, its walls alive with crystal pillars that sang when touched by the wind. At the center of the plaza stood the bond stone, a towering crystal older than memory, said to record every joining since the dawn of their people. Daniel stood before it, his heart pounding, his cloak heavy, his mind racing with fear and wonder. Sarai stood beside him, calm but trembling, her silver skin reflecting the flames that lit the plaza. She whispered, "Once we place our hands on the stone, it will shine. It will mark us not only here but across the stars. No one can deny it then." Daniel swallowed hard. "And if I fail, if it does not shine?" Sarai looked at him with steady eyes. "Then we fall, both of us, and the people may break apart forever." The council gathered. The High Speaker raised her staff, her golden patterns blazing like fire. "Tonight," she declared, her voice echoing through the plaza, "we witness what no world has witnessed before, a bond between human and our kind, an act of fate and choice, an act that may change the galaxy itself." The crowd roared, their voices shaking the air, some crying in joy, some trembling in fear. Daniel stepped forward, his hands shaking. Sarai reached out, her fingers brushing his. Warmth spread through him. He took a breath, then placed his hand on the bondstone. Sarai placed hers beside his. The crystal pulsed once, twice, then erupted with blinding light. The crowd gasped. The plaza glowed as if the stars themselves had fallen to the ground. The light spread through the crystal pillars, through the streets, into the sky. For a moment, the whole planet shone, visible even from orbit. The bond was real. The bond was sealed. Cheers erupted like a wave. Cries of joy shook the heavens. Daniel and Sarai turned to each other, their eyes filled with awe, their hands still on the stone. But not all voices joined the cheer. From the shadows came movement. Dark figures cloaked in black surged forward, weapons humming with deadly energy. The rebel faction, the ones who had whispered in secret halls, had come to strike. Their leader shouted, "The bond is a lie, the bond is a chain. We will not bow to an outsider." They raised their weapons and charged. The guards reacted, forming a circle, spears clashing against the rebels. Chaos filled the plaza. The crowd screamed. Banners fell, fire sparked. Daniel pulled Sarai behind him, his heart racing. Varric, the warrior he had faced before, roared like a storm and leapt into the fray, his spear striking with fury. This time not against Daniel, but in his defense. "Stand your ground," Varric shouted, his voice booming. "The bond is true. It was proven in trial. It was sealed in stone. None will break it while I live." His words rallied the people. More rushed forward, pushing the rebels back. Daniel felt the heat of battle all around, but in that chaos he remembered his choice. He would not be passive. He would not hide. He grabbed one of the fallen banners, its pole heavy in his hands, and stood beside Varric. Deflecting a strike meant for Sarai, the rebel's weapon clashed against the pole. Sparks flying, Daniel shouted, "This bond is not yours to break. It is ours to protect." The crowd heard him, his voice carried through the flames, and something shifted. Fear turned to courage. Hesitation turned to unity. More and more aliens rushed to defend the plaza. To defend the bond, the rebels faltered. Their leader screamed in rage but was overwhelmed. Their weapons dropped, their shadows broken. Silence returned slowly, broken only by the crackle of fading flames. The rebels were bound and taken away. The plaza still glowed with the light of the stone. Unbroken, untainted, Sarai clutched Daniel's hand, tears running down her silver cheeks. "You chose and you fought, not for yourself, but for us all," she whispered, her voice trembling. The high speaker raised her staff once more, her golden eyes fierce. "The bond has been tested not only in ceremony, but in blood, and it stands. Stronger than law, stronger than tradition, stronger than fear," her voice thundered. "Tonight a new chapter begins." The union of worlds, the crowd erupted in cheers. Drums thundered. Banners rose again, this time higher than before. Daniel felt his knees weaken, exhaustion pulling at him. But Sarai's hand steadied him. Their bond not just symbol, but living truth. That night the twin suns set together. The sky lit with 1,000 colors. The world sang, and far beyond, in the cold dark of space, other eyes watched, some with wonder, some with envy, some with fear, for the galaxy now knew. A human and an alien had joined, and nothing would ever be the same again. And as Daniel stood with Sarai, their hands still bound, their eyes fixed on the endless stars, he understood the final truth. Sometimes the smallest gesture, a piece of food, could grow into a flame bright enough to light the whole galaxy.